yeah. Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. DL gives rhymes, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. Yo, we going live, Facebook and YouTube. Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. DL gives rhymes, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. You better stay tuned to Black Brothers View. Black brothers helping each other, sharing their views from cover to cover. Eclectic topics, yeah, different perspectives, yeah, keeping it popping, always respected. Facebook and YouTube, Friday nights at 9, we sharing and learning, yeah, we transforming minds. Tune in, share, like, and subscribe. Inspiration and motivation coming to your lives. Friday nights with BBB is the place to be. Party with the brothers, yeah, we're emissions free. Real talk about everything from A to Z. Black brothers make a difference in the community. You heard that this is a man's world, but there wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl. So every now and then, we invite the man. This is BBB, voice of the black man. Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. DL gives rhymes, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. Yo, we going live, Facebook and YouTube. Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. DL gives rhymes, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View, Black Brothers View. You better stay tuned to Black Brothers View.
Unmute, unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me now?
We can hear you.
Technology is a blessing, but you got to learn the lesson. BBV TV, Black Brothers View. This is your host, DL Giron, and I'm so glad to have you tuning in. And I am telling you tonight, if you stay with us, you're going to be empowered, and it's going to be a blessing for your life. Amen. We believe this is a platform where brothers' perspective is respected, that transformation takes place through communication. And so tonight we have some brothers who will be doing just that. They will be communicating to you some of their thoughts and from their heart. Our theme tonight is when a black man writes, he has something to say. When a black man writes, he has something to say. Many times women would say, he shuts down, he won't speak, he won't talk, he just gave me short answers. But if a brother takes the time to write, whatever it is, a song, a poem, a book, you need to know he has something to say and he want to be heard. And tonight we have some writers, some publishers, some authors who will be sharing tonight in a very special way. As you see here, I have on the mask, reminding you simply to wear your mask. Let's continue to wash our hands, wear our mask, and keep the social distance as much as we can, all right? We just want to put that out there. Before going in, I want to let you know a little bit about me. And I want to inspire you with knowing that this too will pass. Whatever's in your life that's going on, it will pass. I remember when doctors found a tumor in my head the size of an orange. It grew to the size of a grapefruit, okay? And there was a lot of things that transpired medically because of that. Some of the symptoms, side effects, things that I dealt with afterwards, one was I would be dizzy. I would get dizzy every time I stood up. And I'm telling you, during those times of standing up to go to the kitchen, standing up to go to the restroom, standing up to go to my room, every time I had to stand up and stand still before I walked, or I would stumble because I was dizzy. I was disoriented, right? So much had already taken place with my head. it seemed like that day would never end. It seemed like that's how it was going to always be. But I began to pray it away. I kept praying it away and believing one day it would not be in existence. And guess what? Today it's not in existence. I can get up and go. To God be the glory. This too did pass. I used to have blood vessels that would pop up outside my head. You can see it extruding outside my head, and I had to rub it down. I mean, it would come, these temple veins would just pop out. The veins would pop out, and you can see it extruding. And I didn't like that. Sometimes I would be in public, people say, "Oh man, look at I see the vein popping out the side of your head," you know. And it would also it would give me discomfort, and I would have to rub it, you know, and try to rub it down. And then it would go on down. It seemed like I was gonna last always. This too has passed. And then the last thing I want to say is that I used to take medication. I remember in 1999, I had about 15 different medications I was taking, narcotics and all kind of stuff, because of the pain and just the way I was feeling, right? And these are the things that the doctors gave me to try to make me feel better. I went to the altar in January of that year, and I prayed, Lord, please release me from all this medication, remove it, you know. And it got to the point that I was still taking it, and before I knew it, I was being taken off medicine after medicine. And so now I don't take 15, 10, and all those pills I used to take anymore. Glory be to God. So wherever you are in your life, know that this too will pass. And that's a little bit of my story, and that's why I can understand the heart of bringing brothers together so they can share their life stories here on this platform. So without further ado, I want you to also know this program is being produced by my frat brother, my line brother, none other than Mark Peterson up there in the VA. Let me bring on our guests for tonight, if you don't mind. And I ask that you will receive them, and they're going to introduce themselves as they come, and we're just going to show them some love, and we're just going to have a good conversation tonight, all right? So our first guest is none other than Pastor K.T. Brown. Pastor K.T. Brown, our Black brother, author. I mean, he was a man of God. He was also a pastor. K.T. Brown, how you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me tonight. Looking forward to tonight's dialogue.
Listen, I'm glad to have you here. Would you introduce yourself to everyone? You know, a couple of words. I know there's a whole lot you can say about yourself, but in
Sure.
15 words or less, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, that would be my pleasure to do it in 15 words or less. People say pastors talk too much, but I'm Dr. K.T. Brown, Pastor K.T. Brown, and I have recently released a finished work called Launching Out into the Deep, which is a book that I wrote. I pastor a church just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. I've also done radio. I've been TV, national TV, with some of the Christian channels I'm sure you guys are familiar with. I used to have a national talk show with one of them as well too. And but my best job and my passion for life is pastoring. And so and recently I've just added writing into the mix, and we got a few more things coming down the pipe. But thank you guys for having me tonight.
All right.
I'm the pastor of Victorious Life Christian Center. Let me say that.
You're welcome.
Life Christian Center. Yeah.
You're welcome. And I was about to say thank you for those 25 words, but then you came back and you gave me some more. So thank you for those 30 words.
Well, you know, I overlooked the alpha. I wasn't going to say nothing about, you know, the sigmas in the house, but I'll leave it alone.
Listen, and then he's still coming out. I love it. Hey, we are all in the divine nine.
Yeah.
There was a day when I would talk about the blue and white, but I think after you get past it, then you be like, oh, all of us in the divine nine, we're meeting people that can't relate to us, so we're relating to each other. Yeah. So next I want to bring, y'all say he's a cool guy. So next I want to bring on none other than Ted Cummings. Ted Cummings, how are you doing, my Black brother?
Brother Cummins is not here right now.
Oh, Ted Cummins is not here right now?
No, not yet.
All right. That is totally fine. When he comes in, we're gonna make sure and bring him on, y'all. So yeah, I heard the intro, Black Brothers View, our theme song, and that song was those are words written by me, but the music and the rapping, all of that good stuff and that flowing and everything, it came from none other than my son created the beats and everything. So if you need some, I'm putting the plug out there for him. None other than Darrell DJ Shabach Gidron. He is our next writer and composer and Black brother. Greet everybody, man. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well, blessed and highly favored.
Blessed and highly favored. All right now. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself in 14 words or less.
14. How about 15? So I am the son of D.L. Gidron. I'm currently a student at Georgia State University for media entrepreneurship. I'm multi-talented, and right now I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to focus in on. I am a photographer, videographer, DJ, rapper, all that good stuff.
Many streams of income.
Exactly.
All right. Well, it's an honor to have you here once again. You are definitely one of the voices and one of the hands of BBV. So glad to have you here, my son.
Yes, sir.
Now we're going to bring on Dr. Pastor, another BC alumnus, my brother, Dr. Pastor Wendell C. Sims. Black brother, come on, man. How you doing tonight?
Well, sir, good evening to one and all. I tried to unmute my video so they could see me, but it said the host is responsible for that. But I'm good.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I wasn't seeing everybody.
All right, there we go now. Okay.
I see you now. I didn't see Pastor, but I kept on
I
going.
can see clearly now. Listen, okay, as he said, I'm Wendell Sims, proud graduate of Benedict College. Amen. And I'm a pastor, husband, teacher in the public school system, and published author now. This is the book that I have written that we'll be talking a little bit about this evening. I consider it an honor. Journey to Matrimony. Try to help couples on their way to the altar, to a lifetime commitment. And I'm just honored to be here. So
Amen.
that's,
Amen.
I know that's more than 15 words, but not as much more as the others. So I'm gonna leave it right there.
He is running the race. All right now. Okay, so running this race with words. And, well, you all know we have brothers who have something to say. So these are brothers who do right, they do talk. So we give them a little easy there. All right. So now, please, without further ado, this brother heard about the call and he answered. Please give it up for this black brother, this black awesome brother, Andrew Snorton. Man, how you doing, my brother?
Hey, good evening to everybody. Pray and trust everyone's having a good day, good week. It's a pleasure to be here. My story that we'll get into, based in the Atlanta, Georgia area, business-wise, providing education-based services, press and media services, as well as writing services. To date, author of 3 books, 3 audio books, and I guess in regards to the faith community, I still am on the board of the School of Divinity for Wake Forest University. So it's a pleasure to be here to not only just talk about the work we're doing through the lens of writing, but how that is definitely a bridge for the various ways we're performing any type of stewardship, outreach, and service. So it's great to be here. And on the Greek letter end, member of Alpha Phi Alpha since the spring of 1991. So trying to age gracefully as best as I can. But I would be remiss if I didn't, acknowledge the other people that are here doing great things. And so it's really great to be a part of tonight's conversation.
Amen, amen, amen. My 06 brother, listen here. And I was about to say, I heard that Beijing is good for some people and it's not for others. It has worked for me, and I will use it again. Glory be to God. They made it so I can use it. So listen, man, it is so good to have you here, and we're gonna have a good time tonight. So I really appreciate your presence tonight and you sharing with us, helping other brothers break through and get not only receive from all of you, but also know how to be heard as well. So now, my songbird son, who will be our artist for tonight, so y'all stay tuned. He has a lot of fans out there. I mean, on the East Coast, the West Coast, and they just coming from coast to coast. And I told him the other night and let him know, I said, listen, I'm your biggest fan. I said, next to your mama, I'm your biggest fan. And I gotta do that because I know God is doing some great things with you and for you. And God has a journey for you. So none other than Psalmist, Jeremiah Baker, Psalmist. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I am absolutely awesome. Great, because you're here, man. And you're going to be sharing with us a little later, so I appreciate that.
A little something.
A little something.
Try.
Right. And I know the other day we was talking about writing, but you represent the carrier of what other people write. I know you're going to be writing soon, but your voice is so important because you are a vessel that carry out what other people have written, from their hearts, whatever.
Yes,
so we're going to definitely hear from you a little later. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now bringing everybody on the grid, everybody, I didn't miss anybody, did I?
You got everybody.
Got everybody. Good job. Listen, before we go into our discussion, before we dig in deep, and get good in the meal, we like to have what we call a bonding icebreaker. A lot of times everybody comes and they don't really know each other, but this gives you the opportunity to learn a little bit about each other, smile a little bit. And so tonight, being that we are dealing with word men, writing men, I have a word game that we all will play. When I call your name, I will give you an option of letters that you can choose. When you tell me the letter you choose, I will give you a word. You will then have 10 seconds to give me as many words that rhyme with that word I give you.
Good God.
That's cool. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
All right. Okay.
We all got to be rappers tonight.
So we word men. So here we go. So the first name is none other than Pastor K.T. Brown. So listen, these are the letters you can choose from. You can choose from S, W, E, P, or Aura.
Let's go with S.
You go with S?
Yes.
Oh, look at you going with S. Well, your word is, and you have 10 seconds. Mark will be doing, Peterson will be doing the timekeeper. Your word is sell, S-E-L-L. Ready and go.
Sell, S-A-L-E. Stale, pale, kale, yale, male, nail. I already said pale.
Time.
Male. Oh, man.
You got 7.
All right.
You got 7. So guess what? Right now, you are in the lead.
Wait, you said he got 7?
Got 7 words.
That's a great number.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7, number of completion.
Number of completion, yeah.
Listen, you got 7 in 10 seconds. That's real good, man.
The Sigma got 7.
Listen to you.
I like that. So, y'all let me know when comments come in now. Okay, now DJ Shabach.
Yes, sir.
What letter would you like out of those letters I said, or do you need me to repeat the letters?
Tell me the first 3 letters.
E, W, R.
R.
Okay. Your word is read. R-E-A-D. Ready and go.
Read, sneed, heed, lead, deed, sheed.
Time.
Wait.
Okay.
Made up a
Okay.
word at the end.
Man, we need a dictionary.
So I have I feel like I got Spade's hand what I'm about to say. I got a possible 5 for you just then.
Now, see,
Five.
I heard she. That's a contraction. She would. She.
Right.
Right. It's the country way of saying she would, you know. She, you know.
Oh, that's what you said? Oh, well, we got 4. But all right, before, because we was founded on December what?
4th.
Why have y'all started me up with that? Okay. All right. So next up to beat 7 is Wendell Sims. Pastor Wendell. Sims. What is your letter? You got P, you got W, and you have E. Pick a letter.
W.
W.
Yeah.
All right. So we have 2 W words this year. Okay. So your W word is word. W-O-R-D. Word. Ready and go.
Herd, nerd, gird, turd, bird. Oh my God.
Time.
5.
See, I messed up with turd, man. It was. I had to close it out with that.
You should have saved turd for last.
I did.
All right. So now moving on to Snorton.
Mm-hmm.
Snorton, we coming to you, Jay. Okay, Snorton, you have W or P.
Let me go with P, please.
Okay, your word is page. P-A-G-E. Ready and go.
Rage, sage, cage. Oh gosh. Enrage.
Age.
Beige.
Oh, y'all be quiet. That's too easy. No. Don't do that to him.
I would go with 5. I got 5 on it.
You got 3.
3.
I said like enrage and what? That's cool. Hey, I started and then I just got caught up in the humor.
Okay. Well, I'll give you enrage.
All right.
Because you said rage and then you came with enrage. But I like that. 4. That's good. There go that number again. All right. So now here's Jay. This is let me tell y'all something. This is the game man, and his brain is remarkable. I hope I'm not hyping him up and then he disappoint anybody. But this dude here, I give scrum words. He's remarkable. But we're gonna talk about that another day. So your letters are, you have E and you have a W to choose from.
E.
Wow. I wondered who was gonna get this word. Okay.
I don't want to know.
Your word is emotion. Ready and emotion. Go.
Promotion, potion, quotient, motion, devotion. My God.
What about that? I don't know. He was on the line with that devotion. I heard
Not
that.
Did the timer go off?
It went on.
Oh, so he got 5.
Let me get that W. Let me get that W.
All right. Oh, look at him. Look at him. You gonna step in? All right. So the W is right. I need somebody else to be a timekeeper. You saying your time? Okay. WRITE. Right. Ready and go.
Right, night, light, sight, bright, height, fight, bite, type, smite. That's enough.
He just wanted enough to win.
That's it. Go ahead, bro.
Hey, Peterson, I think you got 08.
That's good.
06, 08. Okay, let me get out of that. All right. Okay. So that was a good job. You shouldn't have did that to your pastor now. I'm telling you, you shouldn't have. All thing I gotta say is just pay close attention to pastor's sermon on Sunday. That's all I'm saying.
On that note, I'm exiting.
All right, so brothers, what we're gonna do right now, I want to give you an opportunity for about 5 minutes individually for us to for you to introduce your book to the world. Tell us about your book. I just want to hear the emotions as far as preparing the book, the experience that brought you to this place of writing your book, or like with Shabach, writing your work, your raps and stuff. What kind of experiences do you write from? And then what are your expectations of what you put out there? Some people have a certain target audience. And so what are your expectations? I will say this, I am so blessed and inspired to have all of you here tonight, because you are the Joshuas and the Calebs who say, we are well able to do this. It's been done. There's so many people who desire to write a poem. They get started, they run into a bump, and then they stop, or a paper or a book, a rap or song. And so for you all to be here as living evidence and testimonies, the Bible says in Romans, the 8th chapter and the 19th verse, the earth, all creations is eagerly waiting for the sons of God, to show forth the glory. And so what is happening here, it also says to write the vision and make it plain, so others who see it can run with it. So others' lives can be made the better because of what you have written. You are positive Black brothers here tonight. And it's now time for me to stop talking and to let you talk. And later on, after each of you share individually your segment, I would like for you to all come back, and I want you to talk about some of the struggles that you've dealt with that others may be facing, but at the same time, the successes, meaning, and just how to be successful with it, how to be successful. You've been successful with what you've already accomplished. And some of you've already made mention, you got some other stuff in the pipeline. So you can be a tutor now. And so we will start first. Our first guest to share his book is none other than Pastor Brown, KT Brown. My brother, would you please introduce your book and elaborate on, as I said, the emotions, experience, expectations, the purpose behind your writing?
Sure, great. So and I have a copy. This is probably backwards here, but the name of my book is Launching Out into the Deep, Getting to Your God-Ordained Place. One of the reason I wrote this book, it kind of came out of ministry. And although this book is ministry-centered, it's really meant to be applied to anyone, whether it's the young man who said he's in at college at Georgia State who's looking to fulfill his career in media. A lot of the concepts and precepts that are in this book, or the spiritual principles in this book, will still apply. The most common question, and I'm sure some of the other pastors here get this as well, that I get from people that approach me is how to accomplish the deep in their life. How can someone accomplish the deep in their life? What I mean by deep is that thing deep on the inside that God has put there and he's calling us to do. Many people have this strong desire on the inside to do something great, great for God. And I tell people that's not there by accident. It's just not a passing feeling. The book in Jeremiah 29:11 puts it this way. The Lord says, "For I know the thoughts that I have for you." God is very specific, whether he wants someone to be a pastor, an engineer, whatever. But God says, as a matter of fact, in Jeremiah chapter 1, it says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you.
Yes.
I knew you. And I had plans for you." And it's just amazing that the God of all the universe is very specific as it comes to his creation.
Yes.
And what this book is endeavoring to do is to get people in tune with God to walk out the deep in their life. I'm going to read this brief excerpt. It's very brief, but it kind of gets the point across. And I say it this way. God is a God of process. He's practical. He has a pattern through which we obtain success. His pattern for success does not change. The word of God says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Malachi 3:6 says, "I am the Lord and I do not change." He says, contrary to what we believe, God does not work in mysterious ways. The word mysterious implies that something is unknowable. But here's the problem. God knows exactly what he is doing, and God knows exactly the way he wants it to be accomplished. And so it's simply wrong thinking to believe that God will call you to launch out into the deep and not make known his way for you to accomplish it. That's just wrong thinking.
Right.
And so writing this book, it's been on my heart. I mean, it's a very quick read. It's only about 50, 60 pages. I had a number of chapters, and as I was writing, the Lord began to tell me to scale back, because, and I began to understand when I got done, you want this book to be something that people read and pick up and read over and over and over again. Many people, pastors do, but the average person is not going to necessarily pick up a book and read 300 pages.
Right. Exactly.
You have to make things accessible. But when writing this book, it was meant to be a how-to book, a mentor book. Many people have dreams and things that they want to accomplish that God put on the inside of their heart. And what happens often is that they, get excited when they got an idea what God wants them to do. They jump out there, and many times what happens, if we're being honest, is that they jump out there and they fail and they fall flat on their face. And so this book is meant to encourage them and say, hey, it's okay. And it gives them some reasons why that might have happened the first time, the second time, third time. But it also lets them know it's not the end of the world. It gives them spiritual, a spiritual background, an anchor to follow and walking out God's plan for their life. How to walk chosen of God to fulfill your God-ordained place in life that he created for you before the foundation of the world. He created a plan for all of us specifically. And this book is meant to kind of not only start us on that journey, but to be a good reference to while we're walking that out.
Man, that is absolutely awesome. And I can hear as you were speaking, like you said, you had to scale back because we're men of many words, those who write, and but you want to make sure that you present it so that it's received. I heard you by all, and not just to target few, because all of us have a purpose on our life, and have to take the leap. You say you have like 50 something pages.
Yeah, it's only about 55, 60 pages, somewhere right in there.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
You said by pastors reading 300 something pages over like that. I'm like, okay, yeah, some pastors. Now, is it on audio?
It is available on Amazon. And so you can get the written form. The audio version I have withheld for just for the time being. I don't think I'm going to release that until maybe October. Okay. I want people to actually, and here's the reason why I did that. I know that some people receive better by listening, and I'm actually one of those persons. But I do think there's something to be said when you can get a book in your hand. I learned this from a former pastor.
Oh, it is.
And if you were to pick up any one of my Bibles, you'll see things just marked up and highlighted and circled. And, you go back and pick up that same Bible or book 10 years later, man, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
that's what I'm hoping people do with this. Get a copy of this first. It's not that expensive. It's meant to be a quick read. I've already started getting some feedback from this book, and here's the other thing I would say too. And I have a number of degrees. I'm not going to go into all of them, but I wrote this book the way that I speak. The way I'm talking to you right now is the way that I wrote this book.
That's good.
So
That's real good.
So if somebody was to read this book, it's not going to read like something that maybe we may have wrote in college.
Right.
May have written in college. That is
reading a dissertation or something. Right.
You're right. It's written just like I'm talking to you now, and now you'll see phrases like, "Did you catch that?" And
oh, okay.
That's the way the book is. It's meant to be easy to understand. Even if somebody that has a 6th grade education, they can pick up this book, read it, and understand it. And glory to God that I'm getting feedback from people who are telling me exactly that, because I didn't tell people that that's what the Holy Spirit told me to do, but I'm getting feedback from people saying it was so easy to read. It wasn't so high that I couldn't understand it. It was practical. It just made things easy to understand. And so, to God be all the glory.
Right. All the glory. Launching into the deep. First of all, how much is your book?
The book is $12.
What?
Yeah.
And you can buy a book and buy one for somebody.
Yeah.
And all the ballers can just buy one for all their members of their class.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good book, a good tool book for a class, though.
It is. And I teach at a local Bible college, and and that's been asked about doing that. But for right now, I just want people, whether they're going to be one of the pastor friends that I have is using the book to teach pastors up under him, associate pastors or young pastors. And because one of the things I've told ministers in the past, and because I know how I came up, just because somebody has graduated from seminary does not mean that you're ready to pastor or to walk out. I mean, there's a lot more to this job than just the education.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
It's good to have it.
Yes.
But you can have more degrees than a thermometer, as my mom used to say.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you're ready for something.
That's right.
So,
exactly. That's real good, man. And the last question I want to ask you right quick, I think it is anyway. Launching into the deep, where did that title come from? And did you ponder back and forth with some other titles before you resolved this one? And I ask that because as a writer, I'm challenged many times.
So that's a very good question. Actually, the true confession, this book was on my heart to write 2 years ago, and I kept putting it off.
Okay.
Right before the pandemic started, or we knew anything about it, the Lord spoke to me again and said, you need to get this done. And so I had all this massive material that I had accumulated, and began to tell me to scale it back. But the title comes from a scene that we are all familiar with in Luke chapter 5.
Yes,
with
sir.
Peter and his fellow fishermen.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Lord's telling them to launch out into the deep. And I use that Luke chapter 5 to tell people what is the launching out process. But before I even get there, I kind of give a couple of chapters on common mistakes people make when they're trying to launch out into the deep. And the example that I use for that is Moses. And Moses is found a couple of places in the Bible, but I also use the story with him in the book of Acts. But how Moses, when he first, for example, when Moses went, the Lord spoke to Moses' heart to go visit his people. The Bible says he spoke into Moses' heart and to go look upon his people. And what does Moses do? He goes down there. He not only looks upon his people, but he sees part of his people being mistreated. And what does he do? He jumps out there and he smites the Egyptian. He kills him. But what was the original instruction? He told him to go look upon. That's all. He spoke to his heart. He gave him a glimpse of what he was going to do and how he was going to use him, but he got ahead of God. And many times when we're trying to fulfill the deep in our life, and you see this common thing in ministry quite a bit. Oh, I'm ready to preach. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. When God begins you to give, just because God shows you a need for something or shows you something doesn't mean he's called you to do it right away.
Right then.
And so, yeah, and so Moses jumps out there and kills this Egyptian, and then the next day he sees two of his brothers fighting, and he tries to break it up. And what does his brother say? Who made you a judge of us? You're going to kill us like you killed the Egyptian? You're going to murder us? And so what happens? Moses got the sense on the inside that he was going to be used as a deliverer, and God was going to use him. But because he went out there and did more than what God told him to do, he became known for something much worse than what God intended. And what happens? He has to flee. He leaves Egypt, fleeing for his life.
Right. Yeah. I am ready already to purchase this book. One, because it's not a whole lot of pages. I'm gonna be honest about that. And and secondly, because I'm always talking and teaching and focusing myself as it relates to purpose and then the next step or the next mission, and everything. And so this becomes good even for those who feel you've already reached something. If you're living, you still have more to accomplish, and it's just good to always brush up, fine tune yourself, and know how this journey here is going to be probably different than your last journey.
Right.
And so that's real good. And I was actually speaking with my my nephew's son just the other day, as far as that you can do a good thing at the wrong time. We was talking about the show here, BBV. He was like, it's finally up. And I said, yeah, timing is important. You want to have, have everything in line and let God do what he has to do to prepare. You can't just go building on land. You have to prepare that land. And
you said something. Yeah, I'm glad you said that when you said you were speaking to your nephew, because, and we talk about this in the book too. We need to realize that whenever God is preparing you to do something, he always, the pattern is in the Bible. He always sends someone to prepare you. You look at Timothy had Paul, Elijah had Elisha. Even Jesus had his disciples. And then even in Luke chapter 5, before he tells Peter to launch into the deep, he tells him, he says, let me use your vessel here, and you sit down and listen to me for a while. Right. And so that mentorship, and too often when people are trying to carry out the deep in their life, they lack the mentorship or the tutelage for somebody to help them get there. But this book lets them know that God will always send someone to help you carry out that plan, that purpose.
All right, people, you heard it here. This is a book to go get. We're going to hear some more from Pastor Brown shortly after we hear from the other brothers. Right now, I'd like to bring on none other than my son, he's been writing for years and rapping and rhyming. And so now this is an opportunity, as he has grown, to be able to mentor and share as well. Please bring on none other. Welcome, Darrell DJ Shabach, my son.
Yes, sir. So, you gonna ask the question or?
Yes, sir. I got you. What I would like for you to share. So you're a writer. You haven't written a book as of yet. You write music, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you've actually written a couple of speeches and everything, and have had the opportunity to speak at different places. Actually got first place several times. I would say that. I'm gonna say this and then let you go, and that is, when you were younger, I remember trying to get you to write and make sense out of sentences was a challenge, right? And then it was like you kept working with it, you kept writing, and then one day it seemed like you woke up and you didn't need no help no more. Didn't need help. I got it. I write it, And I'm like, oh, look at this. What happened here? This is good, So I want you to speak to some of the challenges that you deal with. But as I shared with Pastor Brown, emotions behind your writing, the experiences that you write from, and your expectation.
All right. So one, I started writing or rapping when I was about 3 years old with my pops. At that point, I'm only 3 years old. When he was telling me to say, I was saying. Fast forward to I was about 10 years old. I started wanting to make music on my own. So, make some songs, rapping. I was trying to do singing. And so then God connected me to some people who was able to help me with my writing skills and with production. And from there, I kind of grew to 2017. I decided to get serious with my music and started releasing onto different platforms. And now we're here, 2020, working on my third project. So right now, just a constant grind. So why have I done music or written music? My pops, he showed me that there is a way to be positive, to still minister to people through music, with singing or with rapping. And so, with seeing that, rapping in the church and everything, it was just, it was pretty lit, to see people getting turned to something that was hip, new. And so I decided to take that as my own ministry in a sense. A lot of people, like my dad said, I've done speeches or whatever, and a lot of people tell me, oh, you should probably preach or whatever. God's will, but right now I feel as if my ministry is in music. I've seen people such as Lecrae, Canton Jones, and the list goes on as far as inspirational Christian hip-hop artists who have been able to use that platform to minister to people. And so that's what I'm doing now. I've had so many people, older people and my peers to tell me, yo, your music is good, brings a different light to it. So right now it's just a matter of trying to build up onto that. I try not to box myself in with just Christianity, just speaking, God's this, God that, because I want people to understand that with music, that there can be a lot of other topics that we can talk about that still yet from a positive light. Some older people, they feel as if hip hop is just completely bad. Don't even bring it to my church. And then you have a lot of people who they absolutely understand that we're bridging the gap. If you're wanting, I feel as if discipleship is not about, just establishing a church and it's like, all right, everyone come here. It's about doing what Jesus did. Jesus went out to the people. He went to the woman Samaria at the well, who they deemed was inappropriate to talk to. He talked to her, right? All these different things that Jesus did. But we have to take what he did and apply it to ourselves. So with my writing, I try to express how do I feel as, being a Black man, of course, constantly, whether it's something that I've dealt with personally or something that I'm just seeing and, we all are dealing with in this country, expressing my emotions from that aspect, expressing my emotions from a young, just young male, and different things that, go through relationship-wise, school, all the different things. And then I also write to be the voice of someone who either can't write or can't express. So many times I've tapped into different artists who they just took the words out of my head and, made it into a song. So so if I'm able to impact one person, 2 people, 3 people, that's good. I have done what God has called me to do. The ultimate goal is to get that person to come to Christ, but it's all about seeds for me. I plant a seed, you'd be like, all right, cool, I can get down with this. And then, just keep planting, and then eventually that harvest will come. So it's just a matter of right now, just trying to write so I can impact the world and impact the people with my life.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Does writing come easy to you?
It really depends on the day. I thank God for people who are in my life who's able to help me. Some days, I'm just going, I have a little hook in my head or an idea in my head and I'm able to just go. Other days I have writer block where I'm just stuck. I don't have any inspiration, don't anything. And then there are days where what I do write is awesome. It's dope, good bars. Bars meaning as far as, it comes across clever and it's just, a nice flow. Then there's other days where it's just not it. So just finding that place of where I'm able to just consistently make bangers, if you want to say, but just, where the writing can get to a point of people like R. Kelly. You know, everything that R. Kelly done did is not neither here nor there, but I would say he's one of the greatest writers I've, you know, heard, and there's a lot of others. So to get to that place where I'm able to write for singers and other rappers is really my goal.
Well, you know, Jay Psalmist will be actually singing later, and as I told him earlier, he will be carrying as a vessel, carrying someone else's writing, you know, bringing it to life. Whitney Houston also, you know, she never wrote one song that has been recorded, but someone else is writing. So it's something powerful about writing, as you said, emotions and thoughts that embrace what other people are feeling, as you have felt yourself by the writings of others. So what do you expect? So when you write, do you have like a target audience? What do you expect to accomplish with your writings, or do you have a different expectation with different pieces that you write?
When coming into writing or rapping, I have wanted to make something for everybody, right? I wanted to impact anybody that was on the planet.
Fiesta!
Right. Wanted to impact anybody that was on the planet. And then, you know, different mentors and people had to, you know, tell me that that's impossible. You will never be able to please everybody. And so I had to realize I am currently realizing, what do I want to do? Right now, I'm at a place of where I write different pieces. Like you said, I write different pieces, and this piece may be for that I take into church. This piece may be where I take into the club, but because I'm trying to get them to see that there's things that besides raunchy and WAP or whatever else there may be. There are also pieces that I may take to an open mic or a Black Lives Matter protest. So right now, it's just a matter of trying to figure out my exact target audience, but I just enjoy writing for several different people to hit the emotions of different people.
Awesome. Before we shift to our next guest, and then of course come back to you, I want to ask you if you would read an excerpt. Pastor Brown already beat me to this. I didn't even have to ask him. I'm like, he's a veteran at all of this. If you would read an excerpt of one of your writings that someone can hear.
Okay. So how about, can we come back to me so I can get something nice, not just anything?
Okay, we definitely will do that. Just remind us when we come back to you. And we, what I say this to you publicly, and that is, keep on writing, keep on making sure that what you write. Something Oprah said to Jamie Foxx years ago is like, when you look back at it, you want it to be something that you can be proud that you did that, you know, that you did that thing. Some people look back at pictures they posted, I guess, or writings or whatever they've done years later after they've quote unquote grown, you know, and they shame about it or whatever. You know, Will Smith was always talking about a particular project that he did. He just, don't like or whatever, but not liking something and then it not being a good representation for you is a different kind of thing. And so I just commend you for being conscious enough to write in such a way that it would impact the lives of those you expect it to, your target audience, you know, and that, and as we always say, transformation through communication. Writing is communication, and you transform lives through that. So we'll bring you back and you share an excerpt. Right now, without further ado, what's up, Pastor Dr. Wendell C. Sims? And what does the C stand for?
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. What does that C stand for?
I'm not going to say on this platform.
I was about to say, all these decades I've been knowing you, and I don't know nothing about that C. I just know it. I just know it flows.
Yeah, I'm cool like that. Oh my God.
C Sims. I see Sims.
Yeah. And I
So,
I do use my middle initial because there is another Wendell Sims in Columbia.
Wow, right in Columbia where you are. So
Right. I haven't met him, but I've encountered a few of his collectors. But anyway, I'm not.
okay. So tell us about your project, the name of your book, sir. Some of the emotions, as I said, behind it, the experience that led up to it, and what you expect
Now,
to
who's
accomplish.
that turning off their screen? Don't turn your screen off on me. This is the.
So they
I
may
heard
have.
somebody's thing say screen off. I'm like, don't, not now. Don't, I know it's getting late, but don't cut the screen off yet. Here
He's
we
a
go.
comedian. He's a comedian too. Apologies, that was my watch. Oh my God.
There you go. Thank you.
What is it doing?
Screen on, brother. My book is entitled, I don't want to hold up too much of your time. I'm enjoying this though. Kudos and commendations and congratulations to those who have already presented before me, Pastor Brown, DJ Shabach. I'm just considering it an honor to be amongst these great men and these great authors. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Truly.
Now, the book that I have published comes out of years of premarital counsel, and I used to have this in the form of a premarital guidance manual. Questions, about 100 questions to ask your intended spouse. And the Lord inspired me to put this into a book. I would like to say that I promptly obeyed, but I didn't. And so years and years went by, and I watched some marriages that I presided over come to a close in the form of divorce.
Right.
And so I start out with a disclaimer that, this is not meant to be curative or anything of that nature. It's just advice, what I've or guidance, what I've learned over the years. I've been married. My wife and I have been married over 25 years, and we had, I would say, we had good premarital counsel, very, very good premarital counsel before we got married. And then over the years, I learned some more things. So I start out by saying, with the subtitle is "How to Know If Your Marriage Will Outlast the Ceremony." So these are things that people should read before getting married. Before getting married, it's very important. And I spent a lot of time in this book on communication because I found out that through counseling married couples and on their issues, a large percentage of the problems that occur in marriage are communication problems. Now, they may not have communicated properly about money, may not have communicated properly about raising the children, may not have communicated properly about their love language or how they want to be loved, how they want to be treated. And so I'll read this part from page 47.
Okay,
It says,
47.
I am convinced that communication or the lack thereof can make or break any relationship. You see, it really matters not how resourceful, religious, responsible, or renowned you are. No one will know about your traits and skills unless you find some way to communicate them. Likewise, if the one to whom you're engaged is passionate, purposeful, prayerful, punitive, powerless, or picky, you will not know it, nor how to deal effectively with these mannerisms if you are short on communication. Communication is necessary to the success and vitality or causes detrimental destruction of a marriage or engagement. If you are one who refuses to express your likes, dislikes, needs, wants, approvals, disagreements, pains, pleasures, and so on to the one human being which you've chosen to spend the rest of your life with, you are placing your holy matrimony in harm's way, and that's neither holy nor healthy. Thus, please allow me to spend some critical time to focus on communication. And then I go on and break down the different types of communication, because one person may be very verbal. They like to talk. Another person might be literary. They like to write. Another person might be tactile. They like touch. But you have to find that desired means of communication to communicate with the person that you get ready to get married to. So the first part of the book talks about a lot about communication and different styles and different things you can do to communicate. And then the second part is sort of a workbook, because it's called Essential Discussions. And that's where the about 100 questions and lines in the book to write the response. So you kind of, I suggest that the intended married couple to be married, tended to be married couple, the engaged couple, sit across the table and not all in one setting and ask these questions and then write it down, sort of like interviewing the person that they're about to marry. One of the questions is, would you describe yourself as self-absorbed, self-confident, self-motivated, insecure, unattractive, too fat, too thin, lazy, shy, strong, weak, smart, foolish, brain dead, stressed, blessed, fearful, scared, nervous, balanced, bossy, happy, bullied?
Gosh.
And I tell them to circle all those that apply, and then they're going to talk about that with the person that you get ready to get married. Because what I find out is that we all have baggage, but you have to choose who do you want to unpack with. That's in here. And if you don't talk about these things before you get married, I call them pop-ups. Different things will pop up. Earlier part of the book, I talk about how does the person that, how do you kind of self-evaluate or self-assess. How do you handle criticism? And then in the question part of it, the essential questions with the workbook side of it is you ask the person that you're about to marry, have they ever been embarrassed publicly? And tell them to describe that situation where they were embarrassed publicly. You know, how did they feel about pets? You know, do you not know that there are some people that hold their dog or cat in higher esteem than their spouse?
Oh yes, I heard about this stuff.
And how would you marry somebody like that?
Yeah,
You
they
know,
kissed them, they be in the bed and everything with them.
exactly. You got the cat in the bed where I'm supposed to sleep. That's gonna be a problem. And give me my pillow. What's up? So this book right here is a must. It's a must. I'm getting rave reviews from it already, and I have it as required reading now because it's no longer a manual. Now it's an actual book. So I have a couple of couples now that I'm counseling before they get married, and I told them, y'all got to get the book and do the work. And it takes some of the weight off of having to do marriage counseling later in order to correct these issues. And I also have in the beginning of the book a statement that says, you may, by the conclusion of reading this book, decide that one, you're not ready to get married, or two, this is not the person that you're supposed to be marrying.
Or not now.
Right, or not now. Exactly.
Right.
It's the wrong timing. So any of those things could occur. But I believe it's a good read, and it's a good workbook as well. We talk about health, talk about religion, talk about ethics. You know, have you ever stolen or taken posted notepads home from work?
Well,
That question
JJF
is,
would say, I found this.
hey, that question is in there, of ethics, you know. Then there's some real confidential adult questions in here to ask one another. Yes.
So you launch into the deep.
To launch into the into the deep. Yes. To take the right journey. Yeah. Take the right journey. So I'm grateful for this work. Now, I want to just say one of the things that inspired me to actually get it published was I was so busy doing some things, and then the country shut down, due to the pandemic. And God spoke to me and he said, make valuable use of your time, son. Make valuable use of your time. He said, now it's time to finish some unfinished business. And he said, write the book. And then he gave me several other titles to write, which I'm currently working on now. I'm working on releasing another book of dealing with trauma. And so it's on now. You understand the mantle of authorship and the completed. The other challenge that I had, I know you haven't asked me the question, but the other challenge that I had with getting to writing was people don't tell you, like, okay, how do you publish the book? You know, I was in a service, a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, was under the anointing, and he said to me, and I believe God was speaking through him. He said, you should have published 10 books by now. This was some years back. He said, you should have published 10 books by now. And I said, wow. But that was it. So he said, you know, break the spirit of procrastination off of you. Yeah, that was good. And I went and wrote a little bit more, but I still didn't publish any of those 10 books.
Right.
And one of the reasons why was because I didn't know how.
Right.
So
We're going to get to that later.
So then somebody began to start unfolding and revealing the information on how strategic and how simple it was. It's a hard, difficult process. And the last thing is I met my cousin who's responsible for the cover design of the book. And she's a well-known author, Marika Mayo Cornelius. Yeah. So
okay, you said you met your cousin?
Right. I did not know her. I knew her mother, you know, is my mother's cousin. And she called me to check on mom and said, you know, my daughters and her husband have a publishing company and write books and all that. And I was like, that's the connection.
That's it right there. That's God though. But that's not only God, but that was timing. Okay.
Exactly.
Whoever thought you should have done whatever, whenever, you know, God has a way of making rough places smooth, crooked places straight, making it very plain and clean and clear.
Yes.
This is now the time, and this is who. Because you could have done something with the wrong people at the wrong time and place in your life. Maturation is very important for everything that you have to do.
Exactly.
So and you're a vet just like Brown, because you was about to head on into how you did it. So we're gonna come back to that real quick. And I love that you have that spirit, because that's the thing, is that many people would just say something like, "Oh man, it took a lot, but we got it accomplished." Or what did it take? You know, what did you
Thank
do?
you.
You know? And you know, yeah. I mean, take me through some steps. Something Denzel said in, I think, Philadelphia. He said, explain it to me like I'm a 3-year-old. You know?
Thank you.
I use it all the time, so I appreciate that you have that mind to do that. Ken, you've already shared some excerpts from it. I love it, man. How much is your book?
This book is $12.99.
Are you serious? These $12 books on here? Please,
yes, sir.
Please, viewers, please get.
It's on
They gonna buy that
Amazon.
up.
It's on Amazon.com, and it's also the ebook. It's in ebook, and that is only $6.99.
What?
On the ebook, but for couples, and because I write in books and I have lines in here for them to write on, I think you should get the printed copy. So
right.
Copy the printed copy is $12.99 on Amazon.com.
Yeah, and something I meant to say to Pastor Brown earlier is that we was talking about audio and written. I like actually both, you know, because in what he was saying, I like when I can hear, right? But sometimes even when I'm listening to Bible experience, or the word, I say, okay, I want to let that chapter be read to me or whatever. There's nothing. I listen to it again and listen to it again, but because God is speaking to me while I'm hearing that, you know, I have to like stop and I got to go and look at the printed pages. So they both work hand in hand with me, you know. So if you can get both of them, it's good to get both. Even sometimes like when you're traveling, you can listen to it as opposed to, and then you can go back and look at it in written. So, and when you see it, you see it and you're hearing it, and it's, it's good. Man, how long did it take you to write? It sounds as if you said you wrote it during the pandemic.
I would say I've got it right during the pandemic. I finished it up. Like I said, it was in more of an outline form, manual form, the questions part of it, but the actual writing of the book, it probably took me maybe 2 months.
Awesome,
in actuality to a lot of that was formatting too. But
right. I got you.
Go chapter by chapter. It was less than 8 weeks.
Awesome.
Less than 8 weeks to put it together.
Okay. And you probably could have done it even if you didn't have a couple of degrees, but
yes, sir.
All right. Listen, y'all. We're gonna come back to Dr. Sims without a doubt. Right now, we want to hear from Andrew Snorton. I appreciate this frat. I appreciate this brother, and
you're gonna make me go to the grad chapter yet, aren't you?
We put it. Listen, and I love the diversity of the writers tonight. That's one thing I'm really happy about. Now, once again, what is your, before I go to Snorton, what's your title?
Title is Journey to Matrimony.
Journey to Matrimony.
Journey to Matrimony. How to know if your marriage will outlast the ceremony. And all right, Wendell C. Sims.
I got you. We're gonna come back to you.
Yes, sir.
Some of them outlast the ceremony, but didn't make it past the reception. I had and so once they start dancing,
my God.
So listen,
we're praying accordingly, sir.
Just a smile, y'all. But it's real at the same time.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you said about it takes some of the work off of you. Listen, man, God has given you intellect as to how to take the counsel and to put it in a book. So it's not that it's taken from it or making it lighter. You're just working smarter. Everything that you would have gone on with them. Because they're able to take it themselves first, they're able to probably answer and respond better, more honestly, than they would if you're just sitting with them asking them things, you see? So that's good, man. That's really good. And you made mention about the love languages and whatever. I'm always admonishing people to read the 5 love languages. That is so important. But all of them, do you like animals and dogs and cats? Do you want to have kids? How many kids do you want to have? I want to have 5. You want to have 2? Just 2, and whatever. Right. I like living in an apartment. You want to live in a house, mortgage, what? All kind of. There are things that people don't think about because they're so caught up in love and getting married. It's not even coming on, and it's not in their radar right then. Right. That book helps puts it there.
Yes, sir.
And then once they get that book together and they understand and they got that concept good, then together they can go launch into the deep.
That's right.
Yeah, and put on one of DJ Shabach songs and dance and rap and all kind of stuff. All right, I'm trying to tie it all together. Yeah.
I see you, brother. I see you. You're doing great, too.
I appreciate it. None other than Andrew Snorton. My brother, how you doing, man? Tell us about your book.
Doing great. I'm going to share all 3 of my books as well as the audiobook series. So the first book that I wrote is more poetry-based, called Deeper Than Your Deepest Sleep, Thoughts on Love with Joseph Snorton. And it's an ideal read for you or someone you know who can identify looking at love, but looking at it through broader lenses. So when you consider love through the lens of your relationship with family, why you do stewardship and outreach, people in your life, people who are no longer in your life, but also looking at self-reflection through your lenses and then spiritual lenses, it is definitely a fit for you or any reader across, whatever genre. Another thing that's a little bit different is that this is poetry-based because as people who can attest, when you use music, lyrically speaking, that can have a powerful impact. And sometimes poetry can be the most straightforward and effective tool in communicating with people. And part of the motivation behind this book is that some people, when you hear the word love, some people feel like because they're not experiencing it in certain lenses, shapes, or forms, that there's something wrong and all fill in the blank is getting ready to, break loose. So before people do something drastic, it's like pause and take inventory of what is going on. So when you're doing stewardship and outreach and those people that respond to you, when you think of not only for those that have that family relationship with your parent or guardian, or even in other instances, your play cousin or what have you, just pause and take inventory. And the last two chapters to me are very powerful, because oftentimes when we go through things, we look at it through our lenses. But then that last chapter is if you had that walk and talk spiritually to go ahead and make sense of it. And a small portion that I'll read before I go to the next book kind of speaks to that. And here's one of the key things. And I'll just read a portion of this. In all things, know that I am with you. Live, learn, reflect, recall, and look at the basic instructions before leaving Earth. It will always remind you of your value and worth. So when we hear the phrase knowing who you are and whose you are, and sometimes it's very easy to forget that when we're going through a clouded period, when you pause and take inventory and remind yourself of that and get grounded and get refocused, that can be that moment to go ahead and get things in order. So that was the first book. The second book, 9 Stories of Faith, Volume 1, is taking it a little bit further. All of us can identify with living with some type of challenge, the proverbial, all of us are dealing with something. But there are some people who deal with something each and every day. So for some, that each and every day might be that physical health challenge, that mental health challenge, life after incarceration, life after a family member passes. And as you can tell by the title, people talk about through the lens of their faith and spirituality, how they've been able to put it together. But on top of that, it's also incorporating what are some best practices with health and wellness? How have they identified their support network? And how have they pivoted their way of thinking? So now all of a sudden it's called perspective. And instead of you having something, it's something that you live with, because when you use the mentality of have, that means it has dominion and ownership of you. But when you live with it, every once in a while, as we can all allude to, there's going to be some troubling times, but you keep it in perspective because you have the tools in your toolbox to go ahead and, as best as possible, you stay on that path and continue with your walk. So 9 Stories of Faith is definitely a fit for you or a reader that can identify with those daily life challenges. Now, some might wonder what a book about baseball has anything to do with faith, and I'm going to get to that. Nothing minor. This is basically capturing my 2019 coverage of minor league baseball. Yes, it's got a ton of interviews and photos and game coverage. There's an insert on the Negro Southern League Museum based in Birmingham, Alabama, which many people know this is the centennial celebration for the Negro Leagues. And contributions by Emery Rose, who was rated top photographer in Gwinnett County, Georgia, the last 2 years. But when you look at one of those overlooked narratives, when you talk with players of African-American descent, and when you think about how playing in the game, 70s and 80s, and then it dropped off. So a lot of times those narratives aren't told. So you think about people that walk around and your story hasn't been told yet or hasn't been shared yet. But here's, of the many interviews I was able to do, this is an interview that I did, and I really want, it helps in regards to perspective. One of the players I interviewed for the Mississippi Braves, which is a AA affiliate of the Braves, said this in regards to, well, how are you able to be successful and all this type of thing? And he said something real powerful. He's like, I look at my at-bats in 10s and try to go 3 for 10 every single time. And looking at the game in smaller increments, it allows me to compete at a higher level. Many people have to understand baseball, you're, quote, going to fail more than you're going to be successful. So that means if you have a 300 average, that means 30% of the time you're getting a hit, 70% of the time you're not. So what does this have to do with life or your faith? Guess what? Nobody said it was going to be easy. There are times that you're going to have setbacks. But as we've heard time and time again, setbacks are what? Set up for your comeback. So when you think of some of the people that I've talked with, one young man by the name of Travis Demerit, who was drafted straight out of high school, spent 2 to 3 years with one system, then got traded to Atlanta, then got traded last year to Detroit. And some people wondered, well, when you were drafted out of high school, you were drafted in the first round, like one of the top 20, 30 players, but you hadn't had your breakthrough yet. Guess what? When he got traded last year, the very next day, Detroit purchased his AAA contract, and he spent the end of last season basically on the big league ball club. He's actually on what I'll call the taxi squad, but since there's not a minor league season, he's basically on that, when we need you, you're getting ready to get promoted. Another player that I interviewed, Tristan Casas, when I interviewed him last year, he was a year removed from high school. Guess what? He's basically on that taxi squad for the Boston Red Sox, 2 years removed from high school. So what does this mean? As other people have alluded to, sometimes when it's time, it's time. For some people, when they were talking about writing their books, it didn't take them that long. Some, it took them longer. The point is they got it done. And so when you think about some of those things regarding how to handle success, or delays don't mean defeat, or things along those lines, those are real powerful. And real briefly, I'll mention the audiobook series I've done, the Author's Mixtape. And there's 3 audiobooks I've done. Many people, especially our panelists who has a music background, understands the art of the mixtape, which is basically where the hip hop artist is basically freestyling, where they've either written it on the spot or just coming straight from the dome, and they're reciting over someone else's track. Well, what I did with the Author's Mixtape for all 3 audiobooks, all the writing was done in an individual studio session. So each book was done in a 2-hour studio session. Everything was written, recorded, one take, essentially basically doing a freestyle book. So, but I did 3 of those. So yes, it incorporates spoken word. Yes, it incorporates music. Yes, it's talking about contemporary issues, things along those lines, but there's also that spiritual element. And one of the tracks, I think one of the tracks that's my favorite is probably from the second version, when I talk about the Nosa tribe. And the story behind that was, sometimes, as the saying goes, you don't judge a book by its cover. You have to read the book. You think about what happens, the perceptions that people have based on how you look, based on how you sound, based on how you walk, all those things. And people have preconceived notions without knowing how talented you might be, how gifted you might be, how passionate you might be, how purposeful you might be. So when you actually listen to that track on the second volume, the way that we did our voice was to sound as if someone was lacking intelligence. But if you really pay attention to the questions, it lets you know this person knew a lot more than what they were given credit for. And I think that's a parallel that can be applied to everybody that's out here. There's a lot more than what you have shared in your work, and you've got to take time to read it. So those are the works that I've been able to do thus far. And the first 2 books that I mentioned, Deeper, as well as 9 Stories of Faith, were rated top 1,000 reads by the Author Academy Awards. So I'm very thankful, blessed, fortunate. And for anybody out there, I wrote my first book in 2017. So in 3+ years, I've been able to do 3 books. The last one, Nothing Minor, is also an ebook, 3 audiobooks. So don't let people tell you what you can't do. I'm just going to put it right there. Don't let people tell you what you can't do. And I'll say, internalize other people's limitations of you, including your own.
Right. That's, oh gosh, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. That's why you got to be careful of the voices. I was talking about Ezekiel in the 37th chapter. God gave me a whole new perspective on that. Ezekiel was, led by the Spirit of God, to see all these dry bones, whatever. Had Ezekiel had somebody else in his ear with him, they probably would have been like, dude, they dead. This ain't going to happen. This cannot be done. This has never been done before. No. And probably would have talked him out of his faith enough to say, Lord, God, only thou knoweth, and to even follow through with what God has told him to do. I am so blessed to know, as I'm listening to you, because you got poetry, but even with the ebooks, I love the fact that you have the ebooks, like you said, and it's just in ebook form, right?
Well, the first 2 books are in print form, and the third book, which is the most recent one, Nothing Minor, that's in print and ebook. Yes, sir.
Oh, it's in both. Okay, so did you put it in in E form first, and then it went into print, or how was that?
Good question. With the new release, Nothing Minor, with the publisher that I use, it provided those options up front in regards to, do you want to just do strictly print, do strictly ebook, or do both? And it just made more sense to do both. I think part of it is, like others said, there's nothing like holding a book in your hand. And I think there's always going to be a need for that. But as other people can attest to, when you're trying to cast a wider net, and you all know the illusion I'm talking about with casting that wider net, you have to be open to different forms. So even when you think of all three books I did, the first one is poetry based, the second one is more interview based, the third one is sports based. But even in the course of the interviews, there are people that are dropping nuggets. Just like you were saying, one of the players is like, you got to filter out the noise, because you can't listen to everybody.
You can't.
Not. Because if
Right.
you did listen to everybody, nobody on here would have gotten started with what they were doing. That's just being point blank.
Exactly right. And why should their voice be so powerful to your life and all the voices, and they're probably doing what they want to do and not listening to the voices that's coming their way. Everybody got voices coming. You got to get to that place. But was the ebook that is also in print, did you do E first? Did you do it did you go in the studio and speak first and then have somebody to transcribe it into print?
Oh, okay. So to help clarify what you're asking, when I did the audiobooks, now the 3 audiobooks, the author's mixtape series, I basically went in studio with my partners, Third Level Entertainment and Canis Major Digital. So those are just strictly electronic. You can download those from almost one of like 300 different platforms: Tidal, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, iTunes, etc. That was one segment. The books that I showed on screen that I mentioned, the first 2 are just strictly print. The third one, Nothing Minor, with how I ended up doing it was, and others can attest to it, when you've done your editing and you're uploading, and when you're seeing what it looks like your proof basically lets you know this is how the ebook's going to look. And if you're satisfied with that, then you go ahead and go forward. So in this instance, I just went ahead with this third one to do it in both. I'll probably end up circling back with the first 2 and doing those in audiobook form. And it comes back to what other people on the panel said. You've got to be open to different ways to communicate your message. Some people are going to be traditional, and there's always going to be that traditional market. Some need to put the headphones on. Some need to go ahead and be able to scroll. So for me, it's gradually growing into being open to these different forms. Right.
Awesome. Listen, now I want to kind of like have all of you to engage a little bit with some things I want to throw at you. One, and you actually jumped into it a little bit, and of course, Sims started to. But real quick, just tell me the title of each one.
Sure. The first book, Deeper Than Your Deepest Sleep, Thoughts on
Deeper
Love.
Deeper than your deepest sleep.
Thoughts on Love with Joseph Snorton. That's the first book, which is the poetry-themed book.
Right.
The second book, 9 Stories of Faith, Volume 1. Again, 9 Stories of Faith, Volume 1. That's more of the interview-based, looking at how to keep life's daily challenges in perspective. And
Gotcha.
And the third one is more sports related, Nothing Minor, which chronicles 2019 coverage of minor league baseball. But when you pick apart what these players are saying in their interviews, there are definite parallels that can be applied beyond the game.
Gotcha. Well, it's nothing minor in making and creating and writing a book, getting on your journey to launch into the deep is not at all a minor situation, but it is definitely possible, but it has major impacts. This year, as a world, we've had more people to leave this earth than I've ever heard or known in 1 year. Personally, I have had some of the closest people to my life to leave this year, And so one of the things about writing and about all of your projects, whether you're writing, you rap, or you know, even as an artist, Jay will be coming on singing, you know, your voice out there. At the end of the day, like they say, your vote is your voice. It's your voice. And it is your voice that remain in the earth always. And when you just think about that, all of you, it is so powerful to know that God has used you as a vessel. We have the Bible because men wrote under the inspiration of God. So you write under that same inspiration. You write because of your experience that God allowed you to have and the knowledge He's allowed you to gain. And then there are others probably who gain the same thing, but then there's a certain tenacity and a certain time working with you that has caused it to manifest in the earth. You have this, it's like your child. It's one of your offsprings now, you know. That's why you didn't want to just tell about one of your kids. You wanted to name all three of your kids. You know what I'm saying? This and that, you know, and that's what it is. And so once we have gone from here, we have yet our voice in the land, something, you know. I'm still to this day quoting things of Maya Angelou, you know, and John Lewis, Dr. King, all their words, their voice are yet being quoted, you know, and have an even deeper meaning with generation after generation. So I declare and decree in the name of Jesus that all of your projects, all of your words, your voice will impact the masses of people, and that they will always remain in the earth, developing and growing and transforming lives for God's glory, you know, and so that people can, and brothers can learn to live a better life. When brothers are built up and to live a better life, then families are better. So talking about major and minor, has major impact, but it's not a minor endeavor for many people. Sims, you was definitely ready. Would you share briefly? This is our last segment before this question segment here, before we have our artists to come on. What have you found to be your most most troubling, challenging? What's been your struggle, and how did you conquer that struggle?
With writing the book?
With writing the book, the whole process of the book.
There are two struggles that I had. One, I got writer's block at one point, or at more than one point. And then my own personal procrastination. Then a major struggle was, how do I get it published? Like at one point, somebody said, okay, if you have like $350, you could publish a book. Okay. Well, someone who I thought was going to put everything in place for me to publish a different book some years back, because they had made a donation of the $300 and some odd dollars, whatever. That wasn't what I needed. I didn't need them to give me the $300 and some dollars. I needed them to get it to the publishing company or whatever and get the manuscript from me, and then come on out with the published book. So finding people that would walk me through the process of how to self-publish, tell me the difference between self-publishing and going into a published company, tell me the pros and cons of that. So those were the challenges. And so I decided to do this work, self-publishing, once I spoke with a person who's younger than I am, and I was like, he got a book published. and I asked him how. I just came out and asked him, because the Lord led me to another pastor, how did he get his book published? And he was the first person, the only person at that time to share with me, you know, like a third grader, okay, or tell me like a 3-year-old, if you will, so I could understand it. What the
I don't know
process
why
was.
some people don't want to do that. I mean,
I don't
it's like
understand it either.
you went and bought something, you don't want to tell about how you got your house. so they can get a blessing too.
Thank you.
So I understand where this is coming from, because I've seen many people who gain accomplishments, but they didn't want to just walk nobody else through it. Like, I want to be the only one who have this.
And it's sad. So he liberally told me what to do, and to contact Kindle, to go on Kindle, and
Okay.
Kindle has a way that walks you through the app of doing self-publishing.
Okay.
Then I went in. Then I met my cousin that I talked to you about, who
Right.
has the publishing company, and she walked me through the process, because she said, "I'm not gonna." She said, "You could do this. You could do this, cuz you got this. I'm gonna share with you how to do it." And she's also directed me to Kindle, but then she gave me how to format it. You know, she gave me a tool to how to format it, and then she helped me from that standpoint with looking at the actual document that I had. You all you have to do is type it up in Microsoft Word, and then Kindle shows you how to format it into a book form.
So you typed it up in Microsoft Words,
Right.
and then you loaded it onto Kindle's software.
Right. And then Kindle will kick it back to you, because the easiest thing to do is to do an ebook first. So that's what we had to do, because with an ebook, I found out that you don't need a front and back as far as cover goes, because it's on
Right.
ebook. So all you need is a front cover. And I asked her to do that, because she's professional and expertise in that. So she did the cover design. Mariko
Okay.
Mayo Cornelius. She writes all different genres and has won awards and all of that. She writes at least 10 or more books per year.
Okay. Wow.
So those were the the divine connection, and then right timing, as you spoke of earlier, right timing,
Right.
being prayerful, and the way the Lord works for me is I can multitask. Like, I'm now writing 2 books at the same time.
Okay.
And so I don't know that I'm going to publish them at the same time, but I'm
Right.
writing them at the same time. So like, today I might write a chapter in one book. 2 days later, I'm writing a chapter in another book. It's just as he gives it to me.
Okay. Okay. So I want to go to
Like
Pastor. Right. I want to go to Pastor Brown for a second, but one of the things was that at the same time, you have to be careful what's supposed to go in this book, don't end up in that book, and it's not.
Exactly. Exactly.
But my question to you before coming to you, KT Brown, is you said $350. So what was the initial? I mean, take us back there, because you said you wish they would have sent the $350 somewhere else. So how much was your initial cost, or how much was the cost?
It was I can give you a roundabout figure for the whole publication to come back with a printed book. It's around about 500.
Okay.
Total cost, and it's between 500 and 800.
You're going up now.
Yeah, it is, because your cover design is so important.
Right.
And
yeah.
I'm not a designer, so I have to pay somebody to do that.
So it depends on all those things, what you're able to do and what connections you have.
Right. It costs you literally almost nothing to write. If you got a computer and you got Microsoft Word or Word format, type. So I encourage anybody, start writing. Just start writing. Then the other thing that I had challenges with, because I'm an English teacher, so I was thinking, okay, you got to start with your introduction, your beginning, middle, and conclusion. But who says you got to start that way? Just to write. You can write the end of the book first if you want to.
It's your book.
Then, exactly, just write.
Right.
Just get rid of all of the excuses for why you're not writing, and just write. Even if just do a paragraph. And so I started to doing that, just doing it, just write. Maybe I'm right in the middle of the book, but you can format it later in terms of organizing it, structuring it, and say, okay, this is going to be the introduction. Because with this book, I didn't write the introduction until after I had written a few chapters. Then I went back and did the introduction. So,
Right.
you know, as
Okay.
long as you do it, but just write.
Just start. Just start right. I'm coming back. So, Pastor Brown, your struggle. What was the initial struggles that you had and you actually conquered in your whole book process?
He's on mute.
Okay. Watch this. Wake up, Pastor Brown. Ah! Just kidding. Pastor Brown.
He's on mute.
Okay.
He's on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know the thing was off. But I was gonna say that the chat. Can you hear me now? We good?
You woke.
Yeah. I was sitting there listening to everything. Actually, it's been really good. I really want to go back and read this poetry that Mr. Snorton was talking about, and then I'm talking about using your book for some. Maybe I need to include that as part of my packet for the marriage counseling. But a lot of the challenges that I had were really similar to what Pastor Sims has mentioned. It's almost verbatim, and I'm one of those persons that. Look, I mean, I hear people telling me, you need to write. And I had all this material out there. I wrote manuals and stuff for the church, and you're doing all these different things. And then I heard the Lord speak to me a couple of years ago, write this. You know, and I had all these outlines there, but you get busy, but you're not too busy to stop and do it. God, I just didn't do it. But right around the pandemic, the Lord told me, you need to get this out there. And I had no idea I was going to be actually physically putting it there. But because nobody would necessarily tell me, how do I go from point A to point B?
Wow, man.
I sat down and I Googled how to publish a book, and I saw the different self-publish, publisher, and I knew that not necessarily going to a publisher was going to do it for me. So I looked into self-publishing, and it was good from this standpoint. It gave me the experience from going completely from point A to point B, all the way to Z, to seeing the process. And I would say the cost would be almost what you could make it, because you could very easily I could have easily spent $3,000 doing this, but I didn't. I had everything written out. The longest period of time really was the formatting. One of the brothers was talking about. I mean, that I had no idea it was going to be that much to format. But what I did discover is that Amazon and Kindle actually has a template but even before you just start writing in Microsoft Word, you can download their template and it will already start putting it into a book format. And it gives you a choice of, even when you're done, you can paste it into their format when you're done. Even if you just type it in Microsoft Word and you just tell them the size of the book that you want, and it'll go in and put it in there. You got to do some formatting at the end. But the challenge was that. That was the main challenge. The only other challenge before that was really just sitting down and making myself go through this process and say, okay, no more excuses. Let's get it done. And quite frankly, like I said before, what I thought I was going to, I thought I was going to put out there something that was just this large book, because I had so much information. And as I started writing it, it just seemed like that was too much. That's too much. This is too much. And it just kept shortening it until I got what I believe what God wanted to put out.
So how savvy are you with what needed to be done and what you actually did yourself?
I would say that if you're talking about, let me just say this, a person with a publishing company, like his cousin, or people who may be affiliated with the publishing company, they're going to be a lot more savvy. But for me, for what I was looking to accomplish and what I believe God wanted me to do was, I didn't want to just print a book just to say I wrote a book, because I wanted it to be something that looked like it was quality.
Right.
And matter of fact, the cover of my book is very similar to the background that I have behind me. You know, I don't know if you can see it here or not, but it's very similar to that. And I purchased this high resolution photo from a company called, I think it's called Shutterstock. And they ask you, you know, about how many copies do you think that you're going to sell, and you will purchase your professional photos by professional photographers, based upon if you think you're going to have 100,000 copies, 300,000 copies, 1 million copies, and then you pay something that's, you know, you may pay 40, $50 to get the cover that you want. Whereas, you know, I could have been charged 600, 700, 800 to do that. And also those same publishing companies will go in and they'll format your book, which is, I think the next time I go through, I'm probably going to do that. I'm glad I did it this way the first time, but probably going through the next time, I'll probably just go ahead and, you know, have them do that, because that is a lot of work. And I consider myself a decent writer, but I appreciate what Pastor Sims said. I really do, because I did not want to do it in a traditional way. I wanted to write the book the way that I counsel and speak with people every day. And, you know, I think of the book of Revelation. Who says you got to start this way? The book of Revelation, it's like an action movie. You're reading it, and all of a sudden you read something that happened at the end, and then it fast forwards to something that happened in the future, and it just goes back and forth. I mean, God is the ultimate author, and he wrote the book of Revelation that way. So, yeah, you know, those were the challenges.
Okay. So I know you said you would probably allow a publishing company to do it next time. That, as opposed to probably just, you think you would cut the cost? I'm just helping somebody.
Well, I would say this, within reason, yeah.
Okay, well, what I was going to say is that sometimes it may not be something you're able to do, but it may be somebody in your congregation that you're able to pay something, you know, more reasonable than a publishing company, you know, who are doing it for, you know, on another level, for another reason. But
that's a good point you just made. I actually did have somebody that was that went to a church that I used to be a part of years ago growing up, and part of her job is for law offices to format and do a lot of this stuff. And I did have her go and, hey, I need you to look over this. I need you to straighten out and tell me what you see. And even though she's never done anything like that, she jumped right on in, and between her, myself, and my wife, we did that. Now, when I said that next time I'm a publishing company, I think at least 50% or 60% of the process I would still want to do myself.
Right.
But the formatting part, I would probably just pay a publishing company to do.
Okay. And that costs about how much you said? Just the formatting?
Well, I think it just depends on the publishing company.
It'll vary.
You know, it varies. I think the highest quote I got, but it was a company that wanted to do everything. They wanted to charge, one was $5,000. Somebody said $3,500. I had one person tell me $2,500.
But that's for the whole project.
For the whole project, you just get different quotes from different people. But I suspect if you're just going to have somebody do the formatting, I think the cheapest thing that I saw out there was $800.
Okay.
What they do is, just so for people will know, usually they charge for formatting. They ask you the number of pages. Like, is your book less than 100 pages? Is it less than 300 pages? And then based upon what you tell them, they quote you a price.
Right. Based on that. Okay. And so now, grammatically, before I go to DJ Shabach, grammatical errors and everything. I've written some, I've read some books, and we found like mistakes in the books, you know, some grammatical errors, and like, what? It made it to print, you know. So people think just because something's in print, it was in a book form, it's gonna be perfect or it's right. I remember back in the day finding something in a textbook in school, you know, and I was like, what? So how is that process? You type it on Microsoft, you load it on Kindle. Who does the editing? You have to find someone to edit it for you. Does it have a editing software, you know, that works with you? Tell me about that.
Well, what happened with what I did, because the way we did it was that I had several people. Like I said, there was a lady named Angie. There was my wife. There was myself. Quite frankly, there was Mark's wife, who helped me with some things too. Hey, tell me what you think about this. I will say this, and look, I know some very well-known authors. If you go read their work, you're going to find some grammatical things in there. You'd be surprised when you're really reading a lot of these books. I went back and read a lot of my favorite Christian authors, and reread some of their works that I read years ago. And when I read them now, I was like, oh man, I didn't realize he made this mistake. I didn't realize this was there. And so let me give this piece of advice. When you're feeling that need to write and put it out there, and God's kind of placed that on the inside of you, the people who are really enjoying your book, even if they see it, it's going to be so small to them
Right.
that they're enjoying more of the content than the fact that you misspelled a word or a comma. Now, you don't want to put something out there where it's just every other word is just, it's falling to try to do everything yourself and not have somebody come back and critique and look
Improve
at
it, right?
everything. You know, you have to use wisdom. But I'm saying that once you've gone through a process and gone through a multitude of counselors, if you will, and have them join that process, at some point you have to just commit it over to the Lord and say, okay, Lord, this is my best, and I don't see sense you telling me to do anything more with it. And you got to commit it over.
Right, right. And come back to, and with that, it leads me to Shabach. I'm coming to you. Hold 1 second. I just want to ask Snorton this particular question here, based on what Brown just made mention of. Do you find it beneficial to probably do like some writers for some shows? You know, when I assisted in writing and acting in Atlanta's film festival, short film festival, and had the opportunity to be a part of that process. And then we was at the writers' table, and all of us was there, the writers, directors, and everything. I felt an energy, and I saw something I never felt before in all my years of writing stage plays and screenplays and everything. You know, poetry books. You know, I saw something there. There was a unification. There was the benefit of someone else's voice and opinion who wasn't necessarily. We had to keep people in line a little bit, but it wasn't too much taken from your thought or your creativity, but being able to complement it and add it to it. So, Snorton, did you find it beneficial to get other counsel before your project was finished? Or just speak to this, how did you handle that? Did you get some consultation, people editing it, you know, viewing it first as Brown did? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I did a little bit different. I think part of it is because prior to doing my first book, I had written for different magazines. And like I said before, business-wise, part of what I do is press and media. I consulted with 2 colleagues who had written before. And that's where with my first book, as a number of the authors, you know, have noted, I use, well, now it's KDP, but it used to be Create Space. What I ended up doing is, like other people noted, you have to build up the habit of writing. Now, what that habit and what that consistency looks like to you is going to be different from someone else, but you have to build the habit. And then, as others said, once you develop the habit, and once you know, the hook and hold theory that you hear in education, once that thing hooks you, you know what direction you're going to go in. So
you didn't need the people.
Yeah. So before I even uploaded my stuff, I looked over my material, but also had someone else look over it. And then I went ahead and did the uploading process. Sometimes, and it's like Amazon Kindle is helpful with the templates, but I would recommend, before you even hit send to get it up there, do a lot of the heavy lifting first. As others said, there's going to be a couple things here and there. A minor thing here or there is understandable and okay, as long as you know, because people are really going to be interested in the content. But as other people said, you don't want 5,100 things going on. But for me, for all my books, and I've edited, I'm actually editing 2 people's books right now. It helps to do all that heavy lifting early, because as other people can attest, when you upload, the way you've done it, even sometimes the template, the way you've done it, and when you see that electronic proof, it might be a little bit different. So you still have to play around a little bit with it.
Right. But what I'm trying to get, what I'm trying to get to is based on what he was saying. When you do all of that and your editing, when you write and your editing process, I know you said one time with one, you had someone to look at it before you uploaded it. Do you have a team of people? Do you have individuals? Or because of your experience, you edit it yourself, or you don't have no one to proof it for?
I do a little bit of both. And here's why. Technically, you're not supposed to edit your own work. But by the same token, what helps is, and this is something simple that our colleague who teaches English knows, when you read aloud, when you read out loud and something doesn't sound right and something doesn't make sense, this is what I teach kids when I test prep them for the SAT. Basically, when you're doing the essay, sometimes the most effective tool, even though technology is a wonderful tool, sometimes reading it out loud or even when you do your proofs,
That's good.
and they have beta testing, or you just have 3 or 4 people read over the proofs and like, hey, this didn't make sense. Hey, this didn't add up. So before you hit live to go sell it, you know, you can use a little bit of everything. I think, as everybody said, the rules of publishing have changed so much, and there's so many different options. But having said all that, I would say it, like I said before, it helps to have a team, but you try to clean up as much as you can before you have it go official.
Gotcha. All right, DJ Shabach, it's your time right here, man. Listen, I know with everything that you write and you want to put out, I know you've gone through different channels, and you're on different levels now with distributors and every distributors, and so please tell us your process, some of the struggles that you've dealt with in your process, and please make mention of the critique that you recently had the young man to do for you recently. So if you can let us know about that, the struggles and challenges that you deal with, and how you conquer them in your writing and getting your material out. DJ Shabach.
He's on mute.
He's coming in, y'all. He's coming in. Are you there?
Hear me?
I can hear you,
Can
son.
you hear me?
I can hear you now. You heard my
So
question.
you were saying? No, I didn't. I stepped out for a second.
Okay. So if you could let us know of some of the challenges that you've dealt with and struggles you've overcome in not only writing your work, but actually getting it out. We've talked about the writing process. Now we want to talk about getting it out from your pen and paper, your computer, to the ears of others. What are some of the challenges you've dealt with, and how have you conquered them? And please make mention of the recent critique that you had done.
So,
and any cost entailed in all of this.
So, I guess one of the challenges first starting is within the studio, within the home, is just a matter of trying to figure out what to write. A lot of times, I understand I want to go into a project, want to do something different, but it's a matter of what approach do I want to take with it. The next thing would be getting it into the ears that I want it to be into. So from people such as fans who are just going to be regular listeners, and people such as labels and bigger artists in the game. So in 2017, I decided to go ahead and publish my music, put it out there. So in that process, I was looking at different distributors, taking an independent route. Back in the day, you needed pretty much a record label to help you with distribution. They would get it onto the radio. It was a lot that was that you had to do. Nowadays, we're able to do things where it's on the computer, simply from your bedroom. So I founded this good website by the name of TuneCore. Now there's others. You have CD Baby, and there's a few others. But I found TuneCore to be pretty good. And I decided to go ahead and put my music out there. With this, it allowed me to put it onto iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, Google Play, Amazon, a variety of stores, Pandora, a variety of stores for people to tap into. There's a cost. So you have where for a single, it's about $10 just for the single. Then there's extra fees that's on top of that, depending on what you want to do. Then you have a $30 cost for an EP or an album. EP is about 4 to 6 songs. Album is 7 or more. So that's another struggle, the money. Sometimes, at least I know for me with growing up, being a 17-year-old in school, $30 wasn't always just conveniently like that. So thank God I had, parents to be able to help me. So then that's the next step, right? Distribution, putting it out on all the stores. A lot of people, a lot of artists, they get real happy. All right, boom, it's there. But what's the next thing? The next thing is promotion. And that right there is where artists will tell you that's where a big of the chunk of change goes into. So promotion can be for anything such as putting an ad in a magazine, getting it onto a playlist. There are set playlists that are already made. So if you type in a gospel playlist on Google, it'll pop up different playlists from iTunes, Spotify, wherever. From paying these people who are in charge of the playlist or just submitting it, depends on that particular criteria for that playlist. And then, you know, to billboards, right? You see a person have a billboard, you probably never heard of that person, but they spent thousands of dollars to get that particular billboard. So then that's the next process. The next hurdle is then trying to get it into the people's ears that you wanted to get into. So then that's where the whole marketing side, when you're dealing with a record label, you have all this, right? You have all these different teams of people able to help you with you as an artist. You're able to have producers, you're able to have engineers, you're able to have a marketing team. But when you're doing an independent route, you kind of are the one that's doing all this. And maybe, you know, you put people, your friends, your family, or, you know, you may hire someone to be in charge of these different things. But for right now, for me, you know, I'm doing everything. So like how y'all was talking about the books, thankfully, I'm skilled in graphic designing. So designing my cover. Does it look good? Does it look too cheesy? Is it appropriate for this particular project?
And since you gave an all right there, if I could insert this, the flyer, the image that was made for tonight, and most of them that's made with BBB, was actually created by you. The design was by you, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. So right now with COVID, right, this is the next hurdle of how do I get music, or how do I live perform to the people that I'm trying to get my music to. So such as churches not having live services, such as event venues, you know, not doing any events. So you got all these different places as an artist, whether singer, rapper, or whoever, would normally be doing to promote their project, you know, you can't do. So now a lot of things have been put onto online promotion, which has been, but it's just even the more. So it's a lot of hurdles. And the fact of the matter is, you have to start somewhere. Like y'all was talking about with the book, you have to write, you know, just go ahead and start writing. I tell anyone who asks me, I have one friend who was like, bro, how did you get your stuff on Google? How, when you type in your name? I was like, well, that shouldn't be the first thing that you think about. The first thing should be, is your music quality good? Is it good enough so when, if Jay-Z or Beyonce was to hear it, that they won't be like, yo, turn that stuff off? Is it good enough to where they can be like, all right, I hear some, you know, some stuff, but, you know, it's decent enough. I just recently, a Pot's reference to it, a Christian hip hop promotional, they do different things. We're a promotional platform. Had they do submissions where you're able to submit your music and you get critiqued on it. If you get a good rating, they're able to put it onto the playlist.
What's the name of the playlist?
Rapzilla. Rapzilla is the name of the company. Okay. So I submitted to them, you know, as me as an artist, I'm in studio. I let people, a few people that I find close listen to it. I was like, yo, it's great. Submitted to them. And they honestly, they was like, I'll be like, it's a 5. But they was able to give me critiques on why it was a 5, you know. They was like, bro, you good in this and good in this. I see you doing this. I would say build on X, Y, and Z, right? And so they was able to give me some critiques. I was able to build me so when, you know, someone else listens to it, I'm able to have a better presentation, right? I'm able to have a better sound quality. So that goes back to what y'all are saying as far as having someone to check it out. Knowing your demographic, right? There's certain songs that I have my pops to listen to. I'm like, yo, dad, what you think about this? But that's because I want to take this into the church. I want the church audience to be able to bop with this. You know, some songs that I have my friends listen to, or some, you know, somebody that's in a millennial age check out, just to give me that critique. So those.
I don't just listen to church music now. I listen to "Count on Me" when you.
Right,
Hey,
right.
shit, I want to hear some. I like to hear I said feel good and positive music. You know, that's what I like. May not be church related. So awesome. Now, before we get ready to bring on Jay, wake up. The process you may mention that people will come to you and ask you how you did that, how you do that, or whatever. And then you may mention about the critiquing. So I want to talk to you real quick, if you can answer quickly on those two. How do you do? That's a question I want everybody to answer on a scale of 1 to 10. How well do you take critique? On your baby, your project, your thing, how well do you take, with 10 being you take it really good, you know, and 1 not so good?
I believe it varies depending on the person.
I just want a number, but I hear what you're saying with that too.
I mean, with what I said, I would say a 5, right? Just somewhere in the middle.
Okay, I got you. And that means that, right, it varies because of who, right? I got you. And do you find yourself being a mentor to those who, and being patient enough to be a mentor to walk other people through the process who ask you, how did you, or how can they?
Oh, yeah. One of the things that I guess I got from you as well, is, are you willing to do what it takes to get what you want? So when I see someone is coming to me like, yo, bro, I did X, Y, and Z. So they come in with some serious things that they've already tried to do. I'm like, yeah, okay, so bop. But I try to guide someone if I feel like they're not really serious, and, you know, I ask them or whatever. But when I feel like that person is serious about it, whatever it may be, I try to, you know, give them words of wisdom that was given to me. So I try to be a teacher.
Awesome. Brown, real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10 with critiquing, where are you from 1 to 10? How well do you take the critique on your project, on your baby?
I would say as far as the content, I'm very selective. So I would say it's probably going to be on the lower end, because it's going to really matter, like your son said there, who it's coming from as far as the content. As far as the you know, how things look and other things outside of that, then I'm very receptive. You know, how it's formatted, how it looks, the picture and all the other stuff. But the content itself, there's only going to be a selective few that I'm going to listen to about that.
And will you mentor others to accomplish what you've already accomplished? Would you walk someone else through that? Or how would you, so now, man, how would you do that, handle that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, that's one of the purposes of why I wrote the book, that because as a pastor, you run into that so much, and I just wanted to address that question. This is how you do it. I mean, right. Really, that's my whole book. It's a how-to book. Exactly. So yeah, that's already part of my nature.
Exactly. Let's say that. Sims, 1 to 10. Receiving critique about your baby.
I think he had a meeting.
Okay. So, Snorton, where are you with that? And I know that you already said you've been helping others and mentoring others. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking this question because it's going back to what Sim mentioned earlier. These different questions are really good to know about yourself, you know, because people will come to you, or when you go to somebody, you know, you don't want to know that you don't take it too well, or you feel a certain way. And when you go to people, so Snorton, I know how do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you with that?
Number wise, I'd have to say right in the middle, 5. And as other people said,
Same reason.
Same reasons. It depends on who it's coming from. I think like anybody, I think a good analogy is like flying a kite. You pay attention to the person who does it effortlessly because they know what they're doing. So you're going to also kind of heed that particular thing. But like everyone said, because if you listen, like I'll just level with you. Some people who will be your heaviest critics haven't even started doing anything. So are you really going to give, like, you can't. It's just like in Nothing Minor, when one of the players is like, you have to filter out the noise. There's some things you have to listen to, and there's some people you do need to listen to. But you can't listen to everybody. If they haven't, it's hard to take seriously when someone has not walked where you've walked. If they haven't even written a book and they're ripping you apart, is that criticism that you really need to take? Or even for, DJ, if someone has never set foot in a studio, how can they talk about, lyrically and all that type of thing if they've never walked where you've walked? So like everyone said, it just depends on who it is. But I mean, it really
that is good for somebody right now. All of your answers on that is to be really mindful and careful. Just because they are your relative, just because they are your friends, just because you know them, just because they, and sometimes even just because they've done it, you have to be really mindful of whose voice you're listening to. But to say what you just said, you definitely want to make sure it's someone who have traveled that way. They have some experience, their knowledge. I've had many friends who tried to get me to be a part of these these businesses. They call them something, a particular business. But it's different business. How you can
marketing,
like the Susus or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, all of that, exactly. All of those different things. This is a particular name I tried to get, and I was trying not to call out no particular company so we wouldn't have no problems later. So anyway, I would look at them. Come on, man, you should do this because of this, and they're telling me, and it's good, man. And in 6 months, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, why you still riding that car? Driving like that. And I'm looking, I'm just looking at them. I don't see none of y'all right now, and I'm looking at them. And I'm like, what you're saying is not lining up with what I'm seeing. So it's like you're talking to me based on the script, and I need to see something. As I said, Romans 8:19, the earth is eagerly waiting for us to rise up and for a project or evidence to take place, so that I can become a believer. I can not only applaud you, but I can believe. I can apply what you've said and believe that I can do it too. Listen, guys, this has been awesome. It's been longer than I intended for it to be, but at the same time, it's something that we've been able to put in the earth, and people can go and get bites at it just like a book and put a pin at the point when they want to stop it. Can y'all see me? I cannot see y'all. I just want to make sure that the audience can see us, because I keep on talking anyway, as long as I know you. Okay, there. I see it now. Yeah. So it's just a thing of knowing that. People have to pay just to get people to share some of the things that you all have shared. And if anybody's listening, it's so much more that you yet can share about your process and about the steps or whatever. And it may be a particular angle that I may have you back on later, because I know I want to do a part 2, because we had some other authors who tapped in, told us they wanted to be a part of it. Then of course Cummins, man, he has an awesome project. He does comics and stuff. I was really excited about having him on, because he's a whole different genre of writing. But listen here, you all are the trailblazers for a lot of people. You may be the first in your family or with your friends who have taken your writing, and done something next level with it, and some of you are working on even yet another project. I commend you to keep writing. I declare and decree that you will prosper, be in good health, even as your soul prosper, and that everything you touch and you write, that God will just manifest it. And then even just as when we pray with the Holy Spirit, that whatever you put out there, that the anointing will be on it in such a way that when you look back at it, you'll be like, I did that? You know, I love it when I write something and I have someone to read it. Like I wrote a piece, Black Overcomer, and some other, and just several pieces. And I would have someone to read, the right person to read. I'm like, oh, what? I did that, you know. But listen, when you in inspiration and that stuff coming to you, and you know, when you going through something and you dealing, you writing your thoughts. For me, when I was a little boy, I started writing in a journal. I did not want to call it a diary. So then later on, they came out with a movie talking about a diary of a black man, you know. And so, but I wrote in the journal because I was told that what goes on in the house, somebody finish it. What goes on in your house does what?
Stays in the house.
Stays in your house. They say just like with Vegas, you go to Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. A home is like Vegas. And all, I know a lot of black families grew up like that, right? With that, with hearing that. And so the thing with that is that because I wanted to respect that, I had to get out of me what, and then being a writer, I was able to write in my journal, you know, how I felt and what was going through and whatever, you know. So that's where my writing started at, having emotions and stuff and couldn't share it with no one else, not wanting to defile what all of us black families have grown up, you know, hearing. And so it became my counsel, you know, writing it's therapeutic for me, you know, and I see such with you all. But listen, we're getting ready to bring on our artist for tonight, Jay. I'm going to bring this I'm going to call it this first session to a close. Oh my Lord, I've received so much. I just need to know that I will be touching base with some of y'all. You know, this is something that got, and I hope that you all can, if you see that you can be a blessing to each other, to do that, you know, here. I'm also encouraging everyone to please purchase these books. You go, and purchasing it directly from you, as opposed to that other cost, you know, that we have to deal with when going to certain name stores, you know, and they got to get their cut out of it as well. So to self-publish something, you know, you take that first initiative. All of you said you did a lot of stuff by yourself and then you pulled over here when you needed to. But even in all of that, you learn, okay, I don't mind doing this. I'm gonna get help with this next time. It's growing and it's developing, you know. And great show tonight, great broadcast, great work that you all are doing. To God be the glory for what you're doing. Listen, you have shown, you said it, weapons do form, but they don't prosper when you keep on pressing. So the challenges, the struggles, they do come, but they don't prosper if you keep on pressing. And so that's going to lead us right into, so before we go, if there's any one last sentence, let's see who can get this done. What is one sentence you want to leave with the world? One sentence. And so first, since Brown, would you one sentence you want to leave with the world after you give us your contact information?
I think I couldn't hear you, but my one sentence would be keep moving forward. That's what I say all the time at church, keep moving forward. My contact information, I think I heard you say. The easiest way to get contact information is to go to vlccmovingforward.com.
If that ain't confirmation for me, no, listen. I'm telling you, Pastor, I just go to my live earlier today, and you hear me talking about moving forward. And I shared that forward is an acronym. We was talking about that. Oh, my Jesus. And I'm sharing that Sunday. Thank you. Glory be to God. Keep moving forward. DJ Shabach, what would be your one sentence and how do people reach you?
One sentence would be to make it happen. And how people can reach me, Instagram, DJ Shabach, so at DJSHABACH. And same for Twitter, and Facebook is my full name.
Did he say Twitter? Oh my God.
Black Twitter.
Yeah, look, keep moving forward and make it happen. Snorton, what would be your 3 words and your contact?
Okay, I would say my
Not
statement,
your 3 words, your 1 sentence. I'm
my
sorry.
1 sentence, be authentic and be accessible.
Be authentic and be accessible. Wow. Awesome, awesome, and so powerful. Like I said, y'all, weapons will form, but they
Contact
will.
information.
Yeah, your contact information,
Sure,
please.
contact information, Facebook, people can add me on my author page, author, AUTHOR, author Andrew Snorton, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, author A Snorton, so that's author ASNORTON, and folks can email me at authorsnorton@gmail.com. Those are going to be the best ways to get in contact with me.
Amen, amen, amen. Right now, y'all, I mean, actually, put your hands together for none other than Jeremiah Baker, also known. Listen, yeah, right. You got a couple names, Jerry, whatever. Jeremiah Baker, also known as J. Psalmist. But listen, before you go in, I want to talk to you right quick because, as I said earlier, you carry the writings of so many. How do you feel and how do you choose what you decide to sing? What is that process?
I mean,
right quickly. What is that
the
process?
process is, I mean, me since I was a little kid, like I always grew up listening to worship music and, you know, staying always connected with that. In concerns to me writing, like I just ask God to give me a clear understanding of things, and wherever He leads me, that's what I do, and that's what I go for. There were a time when I had been through a lot, and I just wanted to give up, but God told me that my voice would heal people. He told me that I'm chosen. He also told me that my voice is necessary, and I'm like, what are you talking about, Father? Like, how's my voice necessary? And he told me that since I've been through so much, that he was going to give me the gift to sing to others and bless others. So I had that mindset for the longest, and I continue to keep going.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yes, sir.
And so you find songs that relate to where you've been or where you are.
Right.
That you
And
can
also,
I got you.
I thank God for you also, because you've been in my life for a long time and you never gave up on me. You know, with the situation with my dad not being in my life, like you've been there for me, and I really appreciate you for that.
To God be the glory, man. It's all God. You bless me as well. Believe me, God is purposeful on both ends. So, what are you about to sing for us as we are about to wrap up this?
I'll be doing a medley. So the first song will be "No Weapon." It's gonna be like I'm just gonna do the chorus, and then I'm gonna go into Who You Say I Am. So, Lord bless these vocals, Father. So no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It won't work. So no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It won't work. Who might that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Oh, the sun sets free. Oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. For His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, He died for me. Oh, the sun sets free.
Oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
Yes, yes.
'Cause I am chosen, not forsaken.
Yes.
I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free. Oh, it's free indeed.
Yeah.
I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. My God. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes. 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 Yes.
My God on today.
Yes.
Whew.
Oh, thank you.
No
Thank you
problem
for
at
that.
all, sir.
What an awesome way to close out. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Listen, you are who God say you are. So go and do what God told you to do. Write it, produce it, create it, make it happen. Keep moving forward. Just don't let nothing and nobody, and be authentic, you know,
Yes,
be
sir. Yes, sir.
yourself, do you. I'm saying that to you, I'm saying that to everybody. So I just want to once again thank everyone for joining us here at BBV TV, Black Brothers View. Once again, as I said earlier, I'm your host, D.L. Giron. It has been my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to have had the opportunity to come together with these awesome Black brothers. And I believe that if we continue to come together and continue to work together and continue to love each other a little bit better, we can make this world a better place. See you next time on BBV TV. Please subscribe. Please share. Peterson.